Okay, so this is like the first time I've ever done really anything like this on my own. I guess you can call it a podcast. I don't know. Um, Normally I wouldn't really have time to do this, but I'm avoiding homework right now, and my roommate is out. I mean, I would so totally do this if my roommate were here, if I had the confidence to do anything like this. Like on my channel, I used to do vlogs very often, and I'd always do it when like I'd be the only one in the room. Like I just couldn't do it with anyone else. So I mean, this could be interesting. First time doing it, and this podcast kind of just audio type thing. I've done an audio thing before with my girlfriend, which I actually have a funny story that involves her that I'm gonna say in a few minutes. But I mean that one was we were talking back and forth, and we were doing a FaceTime during the time, so it wasn't that bad. Anyways, so I was thinking I'd start this out with like this funny story, and funny story actually kind of happened today, kind of didn't. So my girlfriend, she tries to send me care packages throughout the year, like I think it's like one a quarter or something like that. Because for those who don't know us, we are in a long distance relationship, so I am on one side of the state and she's on the other side of the state for like 8 months out of the year. So it's kind of tough. And so she sends care packages and she's always like, don't send me anything because she lives at home and I don't because I don't think I could travel 5 hours to school every day. You know, that just might be a little bit too much. Just a tad. Anyways, so she sent me a care package like 2 weeks ago. And I was supposed to get it like 2 weeks ago. And nothing happened. So I was like, she kept asking, "Oh, did you get the care package today?" I was like, "No, not today. I'll check tomorrow." And that's what it was for the past, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, like I said. And every day I'd go checking and nothing. And finally, one day I saw there was a slip in my mailbox. I was like, "Oh, package is here." And I opened it up and it was my roommate. I was like, "What?" So my roommate got a package type thing from somebody. And the whole time I was like, "Okay, you're not like holding on to like the thing like as a joke, trying to like prank me and not getting it because you only have 10 days to pick up a package once you get the slip in your mail." And so, I mean, time went on, and every time she'd ask me, "Did you get your package?" I was like, "Well, it'll get here when it gets here. No big deal." So eventually she was thinking like, "Did I put down the wrong address?" So she read me the address, like, "No, that's my address all right." And we just couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And she thought maybe that the mail people, the mail service entered it wrong or something. And so she eventually, just the other night, um, ooh, nice. Sorry, I'm playing Minecraft while doing this. But anyways, the other night, she emailed the mail service on her college campus, and they were like, "Well, here's the tracking number, and it came in on the 28th of April." And I'm doing this speaking right now on like the 9th of May. So I think it's the 9th. Let me check the date. Yeah, it's the 9th. And so like I hadn't gone yet. Like, yeah, it came in at like 7 in the morning and it was signed and delivered. So I was like, huh. So I emailed this mail service here on campus and they were like, "Well, here's your options, blah blah blah. Give us the tracking number if you can. We'll try and look it up and everything." And so I went down to the office and I asked, I was like, "Hey, explain my whole situation. I have a package that was supposed to come in like 2 weeks ago. Haven't seen it. I've been checking every day. So it's not like I just haven't been looking, trying to find it." So they looked at the logbook and like, "Oh yeah, you signed up for it." I was like, "No, I didn't." Like, "Oh yeah," and they showed me the signature and everything. I was like, "I never got it though." And so they found the package and they're like, "Well, you signed off for it, so that's really weird." The funny thing is, I did sign off for it, but I had two packages the day I signed off for it. So I had a T-shirt that was in the mail because I had this project I had to do for one of my classes, and I had to bring a T-shirt in to get a vinyl print on there. And so I had signed out for that package, and apparently I had signed out for the package, the care package I was supposed to get. And they just only gave me the T-shirt one. So I had signed off for it and had never known. So long story short, I got the package and everything, and it was all good, and I'm happy, and it's filled with like the best things, everything she knows that I just enjoy. She always throws in there, and she's just great. I mean, I gotta do something for her. She was always like, "Oh, you don't have to do anything. You don't owe me. You don't pay me back for it." It's like, no, I'm gonna do something nice when I get home from college for the summer. Because I mean, I'm not done. I still have one more year after this. But anyways, so that's the funny story of the day. But I was thinking with these like audio kind of podcast type things, I think I'm kind of doing these just on the fly, kind of just like whatever comes to mind. And so I mean, it could be anything really. It could be political. It might not be. I don't know. Literally, whatever comes to my mind is probably what I'll talk about. But anyways, one of the biggest things that come to mind is the other day, Donald Trump was in Washington, um, doing a speech or part of his campaign or whatever. And before you, if you hear this and you're just like, oh, Trump, blah, 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 screw him, all that, I just want to let you know, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a supporter. But at the same time, don't cheer because I'm not a Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton supporter. In fact, I would much rather vote for Trump than those two. But that being said, I am not a Trump supporter. I personally, I am hopefully preferring or whatever. I'm hoping to vote for a libertarian candidate, and the only one I'd be really wanting to vote for, I guess, would be Austin Peterson. But at the same time, he needs to kind of catch up to uh, Gary Johnson, who's number one right now in those polls. But he's catching up slowly. Anyways, so Trump was in Washington the other day, and I opened up Facebook and I saw that like the news was like, oh yeah, there's all these people protesting, and which is not a surprise at all. I know like literally everyone in the world protests Trump now, and I'll get into that in a second. But I mean, the way they're protesting, honestly, they're assholes. They don't know what protesting really is, and okay, so normally when I think of an argument or a debate, if somebody's just like, "Oh, you're stupid" or "You're an asshole" or starts calling names, they have no argument. But if you're gonna say like, "Oh, you're an idiot," blah blah blah, you have to at least back it up, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna back this up, my opinion on this. But anyways, so they're protesting by blocking the road, and my first thought is like, okay, they're blocking the road, they can just go around. If they block all the other roads and they can't get through, you can just call in a helicopter or something, and they'll just fly them in. No big deal. But the thing that pisses me off the most about the protesting that they did was the idea of them using what they see as their free speech to stop Trump from using his right of free speech. So here's the thing. So the First Amendment, you might not like it because of Trump, but Trump has every right under the First Amendment to go places and speak. It's his right as an American citizen. At the same time, it's the right of the protesters to say, oh, we don't really want you here, or we don't agree with what your policies are, or whatever. It's their right to say that. But nowhere says that you can use your free speech to stop another one, to ban another person from their free speech. First of all, I mean, the whole protesting of blocking the roads, first of all, it's illegal to block the roads. You can't do that. So, I mean, they should have been arrested. Secondly, you can't use free speech to block someone from using their free speech. Not to mention, not only were they blocking or trying to ban Trump from speaking, but they were also pretty much, they were also pretty much banning the people who do agree with his policies and support him and everything from hearing what he has to say. And those people, some of them probably came from different parts of like the state to come see this. They're taking a big chunk out of their day to come do this. And the fact that these people are just like, we hate Trump so much that we're going to stand in the road and not let him through because we don't want to hear him speak, and you're not welcome in our state. Well, first of all, it's not just your state. There's a lot of other people in the state. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Trump supporters in the state. Most of the people I know in this state are Trump supporters. That and the occasional Bernie or Hillary. Yeah, Most people I know are Trump supporters, mostly by default at this point. But the idea of blocking somebody from using their free speech is just an asshole move. It's ridiculous. And I mean, like, I was watching the live, like a few minutes of the live feed that one of the news stations did of Trump's speech, and I was just watching all that was going down in the comments. I mean, personally, I don't agree with Trump on every issue. Um, like I said, I'm hoping Austin Pearson makes the ticket, but if Austin Pearson doesn't, I'm probably going to be voting for Trump. This is going to be my first election to vote for somebody, and I think he'd do a lot better job than Hillary Clinton, who's having some issues legally, and socialism, which I don't see how people think that works because it really doesn't. So Bernie Sanders is totally out. He's totally out for me. But anyways, I don't agree with Trump. I think he's inconsistent on many of the things he says. He's a lifelong Democrat, and suddenly, next thing you know, he's like, oh, I'm a Republican, vote for me, blah, blah, blah. And at first, I thought it was this whole publicity stunt, but then I was like, okay. And I remember when I was first thinking about this election, too, because last summer, I was thinking, like, okay, you know what? Trump, I could back this guy. I mean, he seems to be saying the things that I'm thinking and all that. And I mean, he just seemed like the guy I would vote for. But then over time, he's like, you know what? I don't think so. And then my attention kind of turned to Ben Carson. I was thinking, like, okay, I agree with this guy on a lot of things. And I mean, the biggest thing for me is the whole idea of, like, the unborn, pretty much. And for me, I'm pro-life. And so, like, Ben Carson alone being pro-life, that's a pretty good for me right there already. And he's pro-Second Amendment and all that. So I was supporting Ben Carson, and I was like, you know what, Trump is kind of like a fallback. And then Carson dropped out. I was like, okay, well, I mean, and he kind of slowly started losing my interest because he's kind of saying some things that were just like, you know, I like the guy, but I don't understand what he's saying at this point. And then I was starting to look towards Rubio, and I was like, you know what, Rubio, I think I could follow this guy. This guy, I could do this. And of course, he dropped out. And I was like, okay, Ted Cruz. I mean, there's nothing really at this point. And then Ted Cruz and Kasich dropped out. And I really didn't want to vote for Kasich either. So I mean, but then they both dropped out. I was like, crap. Now there's Trump. But then there's a podcast that's on not only YouTube but like also SoundCloud and all that. This guy Steven Crowder, he has this show called Louder with Crowder, and he interviewed Austin Peterson on it. And I was listening. I was like, oh man, this guy, he's got a lot of what I'm looking for in a candidate and stuff. He's hitting like all the major issues. So looking at this guy's like stuff on his website and all that, I was like, you know what, this guy, if he can get on the ticket, he has my vote, 100%. He's got it. Sure, he probably won't win, but it'll give. I mean, I'd like to see him have a chance. And since then, I've been kind of promoting him. But anyways, back to the whole Trump thing. I feel like I've gone totally off. But anyways, the inconsistencies and all that, I don't know. The only reason I'd vote for Trump now is if Gary Johnson gets the Libertarian nomination. That's the only time I'd vote for Trump. Anyways, I mean, like, a lot of things that people say about Trump, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you can't be for real. Okay, so I mean, like, some things are kind of just like, okay, whatever. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that are just like, okay, I don't really agree with this, but whatever. But I think one of the biggest things that everyone was always talking about was like, oh, he wants to build a wall. He's racist. What? He wants to build a wall, so he's racist. Okay, first of all, I might not be behind the whole idea of the wall, but how does a wall make him racist? Under that very logic, that means that the person who built the wall to the right of me in my dorm room, that very man is a racist. That's the logic behind it. He very well might be a racist. You don't know. He might not be. But under that logic, the man who built the wall next to me is racist. That's the logic of it. And honestly, I don't see how a person who wants to build a wall is racist at all. And I don't even see how that makes Trump racist. All he wants to do is make it harder for the people coming here illegally to come here illegally. That's all it is. There's nothing racist about that. Any other country would do the same thing. In fact, I mean, this might be a little outdated of an example, but my roommate and I were talking that, I mean, he's voting for Hillary. I mean, he's not. He hates Trump more than I do. But we're talking and stuff, and it's like, well, the Chinese built the wall, and the reason they built the wall was so that the Mongols wouldn't get in. Sure, it's a little outdated of an example, but it carries the same point. Nobody sees the ancient Chinese as racists at this point. They think, oh, they did it for safety. Bingo, grand slam. It's a whole safety issue. And if you think a wall is racist, then maybe we should take down the walls in your house, see how you feel. Oh, but no. What happens if somebody gets in my house? There you go. Bingo. Or, oh no, but my house was held down because nothing's holding it up. Exactly. That's what a wall is. It provides stability. So, I mean, while a wall might not be the greatest idea in the world, especially now with today's technology and things that could easily blow it up, it's not racist. And I don't see how it is racist at all. It's like today's society, it's like people just, they hear something like, oh, racist. That's racist. That offends me. And the whole thing about like offending and stuff, it's like grow a pair. Seriously. How can anything, I mean, nothing's gonna happen if you're offended. It's not like I'm offended and the next thing you know lightning hits you. It's not gonna happen. Being offended, literally, if you're offended by anything, this is what you have to do. You look at the person, smile, you turn away, and you just leave them alone. That's all it takes. Seriously. I mean, I've been called things before. I've been told I'm stupid and stuff. Does it offend me? Not really. I just think, okay, whatever. Well, I'll look for a way to better myself in a way that you won't call me that anymore or something. It's not that hard to not be offended. If anything, if I'm offended by anything, I'm offended by people being offended. Like, seriously. It's getting ridiculous. Like, I remember, I mean, like, going back to the whole, I mean, I'm jumping everywhere right now. But I mean, going back to the whole Trump thing, too, with the speech. It's like, when did the people who say they're so tolerant of everything become so intolerant that they can't listen to somebody speak about things that don't, or not even listen to them, but just like ignore the things that offend them or they don't agree with. The whole thing with the live feed with people just like, oh, this offends me, Trump's not welcome here. It's like, you don't have to watch this. Like, seriously, nobody is forcing you to watch the live feed. Nobody is forcing you to vote for him or even listen to him. Seriously. I mean, the only time I would think, okay, you are forced to listen to this guy is if you're held at like gunpoint or something, or knife point, and this like, keep staring at the TV of Trump and listen to him speak, or else you're gonna get it, or your family's gonna get it. It's like, that's the only time I feel like you'd be forced to do anything about it. Like, seriously. I'm surrounded by a ton of Bernie Sanders and Hillary fans. And I'm not offended. I just think, okay, well, I don't agree with you. And here's why I don't agree with you. I just don't think that Hillary is qualified to be president. And I don't think that Bernie Sanders understands economics. Simple as that. Am I offended? No. If you say something that offends me, I'm just going to walk away. I really don't care. Or I'm going to justify why I said something, or that's literally all that happens when you're offended. Nothing bad happens. You don't die. Gosh. It's just people these days. They just can't, like, live a single moment without freaking out about something like that. I don't even know. I feel like I'm just going in circles with my whole rant. But you get the point. It's ridiculous. There's tons of other things you could do other than get offended. Especially the whole thing about the whole nobody's forcing you to watch it. If Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton's on the TV and I don't want to watch it, then I just turn off the TV and I go do something else that's productive with my life. That's all it takes. Seriously. Okay, enough ranting on that. I'm gonna rant on other stuff now. So, my going back to now, going back. So I said that I don't agree with Bernie Sanders because I don't think he believes, or not believes, I don't think he understands economics. And I feel like I should probably back up my claim on that because a lot of people are like, oh, he perfectly understands economics, and they'll go through some big whatever to try and prove it. Which, okay, whatever. Anyways, the reason why I don't believe he understands economics. So first of all, he's like, oh, living wage, $15 an hour. That's a terrible idea. And I mean, I'm sure everyone hears the argument, well, $15 an hour means that your hamburger at McDonald's is going to be $15, or it's going to be $20 or whatever. It's going to go up. And they're like, oh, I hear that all the time. Well, it's because that's literally what's going to happen. I mean, sure, your Big Mac's not going to be $20. I mean, what is it now? It's like $4 something for the meal, I think it is, the Big Mac meal. Something like that. It's going to go up like to 6 or 7 at least. I don't think people understand that. When you raise the minimum wage, there's inflation. And the whole idea of like, even like free college, sure, I'm in college right now. The idea of having college paid for is like the most beautiful thing in the world. I would do anything for that. But at the same time, I need to be an adult. I need to learn that borrowing money, you have to pay it back and stuff like that. And the whole idea, like I remember I was talking to this one person. I'm not gonna name them because first of all, I can't even remember who they are. I just remember, I think it was on Twitter. I was talking to this person, and we were kind of just, they're a Bernie supporter, and at the time I think I was thinking about Rubio or looking into Rubio and stuff like that. But anyways, we were having this little argument and stuff, and they were saying, well, I was like, okay, well, how are you gonna pay for? How are you gonna pay for all this like free stuff? And they're like, oh well, we'll just tax more. It's like, well, everyone's already being taxed a ton already, and the idea too of like the whole taxes and stuff too. Not only is they're gonna raise the tax on the people who make a lot of money, they're gonna raise the taxes significantly on the people who have no money to start out with. I mean, if you look at Bernie's tax plan, just that alone, the people in the lower classes taxes skyrocket. I mean, the rich do too, but the middle classes goes up. I can't remember how much it goes up, but the lower class, oh, it was just disgusting how much they were gonna have to pay compared to what they already are. And so I was explaining this, and I was like, okay, so what's gonna happen if everyone who makes all this money and stuff, what if they decide they're not going to pay taxes? What if they decide to move to another country so they don't? Of course, that's probably not the most realistic example ever. They're like, but the person, I kid you not, this person, I'm going to just say they have the greatest answer in the world. And by greatest, I mean it was like the worst thing I've ever heard. The most idiotic thing I've ever heard. They're just like, well, we'll just print more money. Let that sink in. We'll print more money. I'm going to say it one more time. They said, we'll print more money. Okay. If you don't understand why I did that, it's to show how stupid it is. First of all, let's look an example. Let's find an example of a country that printed a ton of money. Okay? Germany. After World War, I believe it was World War One, Germany, in order to pay off all the countries that they owed money to, they printed a lot of money. And what happened when they print a lot of money? That means the amount that all that money was worth, it went down. It went down so much that, I'm not making this up either, this is all in history books, it went down so much that money was used as wallpaper because it was worth nothing. To get bread, you would see people coming down the street with wheelbarrows of money to buy for a loaf of bread. I'm not making this up. Open history textbook, Google it. It's the whole idea of inflation and I want to say deflation. I don't know. I mean, you could totally write me off as not credible anymore at this point, I guess. But I mean, it's one of the two. I want to say deflation or inflation. Yeah, that's when things go up. I'm having a stupid moment. I'm like playing a game while speaking all about this. Anyways, all that money that they had was worth nothing. That's what happens when you print more and more money. This person didn't believe me though. I was just like, okay, well, I'm not going to argue with you anymore because you're just not even going to look it up. I'm not making this up. So, pretty much, long story short, it's not going to do anything to print more money. And it's like I said, yes, I'm in college. Yes, I would love to have money to pay for college. But at the same time, having to borrow money just means I have to work it off, which then gives me the initiative to go get a job. Simple as that. And also, I think it also helps that I'm not going to college for what is it? Gender studies, women's studies. What is it? No, I'm not going for anything liberally arts degree. No, there's no point in that. I mean, there is to a point. There is to a certain degree, but there really isn't. I mean, I want to make something of my life. I mean, sure, the job I want to go into is not the most highest paying job in the world. It doesn't start out like, I mean, like one of my buddies, he's going to be an accountant. I mean, he's looking at some pretty good figures working as an accountant. Me, on the other hand, I want to go into graphic design. I'm a junior in college studying visual communication design, so I can be a graphic designer basically, or even go into advertising. I'm looking at maybe at the top of my career making 60K a year. Nothing crazy. But the idea that I actually want to get out there and get a job that's going to be paying more than $20,000 a year, because that's literally what all those other jobs of gender studies and all that pay. It shows a little more of, I want to pay off this debt, which I kind of do. And this also leads me to another point of the whole idea of like welfare and stuff. I don't believe that it's a good thing, but at the same time, I don't believe it's bad. I know plenty of examples of where welfare is a good thing. I mean, for one, my roommate, his mother, may she rest in peace, she just passed away a couple days ago, though. She was on welfare, and I mean, she wasn't abusing it or anything. She was using it so that she could survive and that my roommate could also go to college and survive and all that. They were putting it towards good use. But then you hear all these stories about people who put it to bad use, who go on and buy TVs and cars and stuff, and their kids are like hungry, or they go on and buy just like fruit snacks and popsicles and all this other stuff, and there's nothing healthy in the fridge. It's just ridiculous. And then the government's like, you know what? We should make a drug testing to get welfare. Everyone's like, no, 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 that's bad. No, it's like, well, if you have nothing to hide, then just pee in the cup. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, I mean, I could be wrong, but a lot of people abuse welfare. And the way I see welfare, I see it as a way of like getting over an obstacle. I mean, my family has never had to do anything with welfare. Never have. We've been fortunate enough to always have some income coming in from somewhere enough to survive, basically. But my view of income, this is not somebody else's view, this is completely mine. It's a means to pretty much for you to take initiative to get a better paying job. I wouldn't mind if I had to. I probably wouldn't mind if I had to, like if I absolutely had to sign up for welfare. I would, but I would do everything in my power to get out of it. I mean, for one, my goal after I finish college is to first things first. I want to get my degree. First things first, move home. Might live at home for the summer. My goal is get a job right away. I mean, right now I have a job lined up for this summer, and I'm seeing if possibly if I can do it during the breaks when I'm home, and also maybe next summer to keep me on my feet. But my goal with a job is to go straight out of college and get a job, even if it means working at McDonald's for 3 months or 4 months, just getting a job, minimum wage, I don't care. And during that time, right when I get that job, start looking for something that pays more, that's in my, hopefully in my degree field. If not, something just pays more. And my idea of like welfare too, it's like, if I have to go on welfare, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking for a job. I'm going to put that money to good use of surviving. I'm not going to go spend it on a nice fancy car or a nice TV or a game system or junk food. I'm going to spend it on something that will keep me alive enough for long enough that I can get off of it. And then also with my whole idea for like the summer after I graduate too, even if it means I'm working McDonald's, I'm going to be searching for that better job. But even if that means I'm only working for 3 days at a McDonald's or at a retail store, if I'm only working 3 days there and I'm just like, hey, I have a better job lined up, see ya, bye. That minimum wage job will only be for as long as I need it until I can get a better one. And the whole time I'll be actively searching for one. And I know some people are probably like, well, you don't understand welfare, blah, blah, blah. You've never been on it, like you said. True, but I know what struggling to survive is. I mean, my parents have always done everything in their best ability to provide for their children. I am the oldest of, in terms of my mom, because my dad has a child with somebody else. I'm not going to go into that story. She's my half sister, but we love her like a regular sister. She's awesome. But with my mom, my parents have 4 kids, 3 girls and me, and then my dad has my older sister Sierra. But anyways, my parents, before they got married, before they had me, they made an agreement that they would do whatever they could in their power, basically, to not only provide for their kids like they should, but that their kids would go either through homeschool or private school. They would not go to public school. And for the most part, they've lived up to that word, even if it meant struggling through times throughout the year. I can remember one winter we went without heat for an entire winter because our heater broke. And the funny thing about that was our heater was actually 40 years old. It was only supposed to last 20, but it lasted 40, which was just a miracle. And we thank God for that every day. But our heater broke after 40 years, basically. And we went an entire winter without heat. It was the most miserable thing ever. I would do my homework inside, because our garage is 2-story, because my dad has an ice carving business, and we needed a place to store things and a place for him to carve. And I remember doing my homework up in the garage, because the top part of the garage, whatever sunlight it did collect, it was so much warmer than the house, and it would still be freezing in there. So we went that entire time without heat until we finally were able to find a heater that was pretty much affordable for us at the time. Not only that, but we went an entire summer without water once. And I'm not kidding. I'm not saying like, oh, the sinks just didn't work. I mean, our water was turned off because we couldn't pay the bill. We made it, surprisingly. Sure, it was a little, I don't know, unorthodox is the word? I don't know. But anyways, we had to get water from other places, and it was not fun. We filled up buckets of water from places. And I remember taking a bucket with me to go take a shower, and I basically sponged myself down for an entire summer. It was terrible. We hated it. Eventually, my mom just said, okay, we're done with this. And so I think she pulled money out for retirement to do it. And I mean, every time she did that, she got dinged. And the worst part was this was all during the time when after my mom got laid off from her job at the Seattle Times newspaper too. And that was a decent job. I mean, since then she's gotten a job, a really good job too, with the King County government. And my dad was just his business was not doing great. He wasn't getting orders in. He was losing hours elsewhere. It was just not a great time. And so, I mean, like I said, we've gone through seasons without certain things. And during this whole time, the crazy thing out of this whole time is my parents lived up to their word about homeschooling or private schooling. Because me, my sisters, two of my younger sisters, we were in private school at the same time. And I remember I was like, you know what, I remember telling my parents too, I was like, you know, if we can't afford it, it's fine. I'll go to public school. It's okay. Keep the girls in private school. They need it more than I do at this point. I mean, I was like, I think I was like a junior in high school maybe. But I was like, you know what, I can do it. And my parents were like, no, we're gonna keep you there. We will find a way to keep you at the school that I was going to. And they did. And eventually my mom got the job with the government. My dad got a bus driving gig. And I mean, now we're doing a lot better. I mean, we're still struggling a bit. We're struggling in the sense now of me being in college, my parents trying to help me out as much as they can, but also sending 3 kids to 2 different schools, and 2 of them having to pay, 2 of them with tuition, and the other one with daycare. Because, as I said, my parents did their very best to keep up to their word. But my youngest sister is academically challenged, and the school that we all attended, the private school we all attended, they just didn't have the resources for her to continue there, and they didn't want to hold her back. So she's in public school for the sake of resources to help her with her issues with learning. And I mean, she's just the sweetest little girl you could ever meet. I mean, if you met my sister, you'd be laughing and having fun. Just good time. I love my sisters. They're all awesome. But my parents lived up to their word, even though it meant that they had to pull things out of retirement or pull things out of places or go without water or heat, basically. So I know what it's like to struggle. I mean, I don't know what it's like to struggle year round, but I've gotten a dose of what it's like to struggle and stuff. I mean, not just that, but there's also the whole idea of like going to school too when I was in high school and stuff, and seeing all my friends like with new shoes or new clothes and all that stuff, and I was working on the same pair of jeans I've been wearing the past 2 years because not only could I not afford it, but my mom was like, you're gonna wear that until it falls apart, basically, because we can't afford to buy you new things every year. And I mean, we made it. Made it this far. I made it to college, surprisingly. I mean, I'm almost done with it too. So I don't know where I'm going with all this. I feel like I had a plan, and I threw that plan in the garbage. In terms of speaking on this whole thing, it's like random time with Colton. Anyways, I should probably. It's been like 40 minutes. I'm probably boring everyone to sleep. It's probably great. It's perfect. Anyways, I'm probably gonna put a stop to it for the night. If I have time, some other time I might make another one. I don't know. Gosh, if you enjoyed this video or this podcast without any visuals, it's just all audio. That's all I'm doing. I'm just gonna put a picture on for the editing. It's gonna be great. See my beautiful face. Don't judge me. I have acne. It's bad. It's cleaning up though. It's getting better. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like on YouTube because that makes me feel good. It makes me want to make more. And maybe next time I'll have structure to this thing. You can find me on Twitter at croyal, ROYL 13. Wait, nope. I did that wrong. Don't listen to that one. It's at croyal bird, BIRD 13, croyalbird 13. You can find me on Instagram. What one is that? I recently got Instagram. I think it's croyalbirdman, the same as my YouTube one. I think that's it. I think that's the Instagram one. I'm not positive though. I might need to double check that one. And I can't remember Tumblr. And I don't give out Facebook. Those are where you can find me, those places. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please share it and like it and comment. Totally, if you listen this far and you think, hey, you should talk about this for structure and stuff like that, so you have something to talk about next time, totally, let me know in the comments. Do it. Like, I dare you. I double dog dare you. Now you have to do it. So, but yeah, leave it in the comments, and if there's things in there, I'll read it through, which I never get comments on anything. If I read it, I'll read it through, and then I'll definitely answer it next time I get around to this, which I think during the summertime I'll have plenty of time to do these things, but for now with schoolwork, it might be a little less often than usual. That made no sense what I just said. But anyways, thank you. Have a nice